If you're a fan of The Stand by Stephen King, the epic, sprawling showdown of good versus evil in a post apocalyptic landscape, then buckle up, because what I just finished reading is exactly the kind of thing that'll get your heart racing, your mind buzzing, and your inner constant reader singing. Hey, everybody. Time for another deep dive into something that had me absolutely riveted from page one. Before we go further, yes, this is your faithful Fantasy for the Ages channel host, Jim, the father. I do this with my son, but he's not here today. I'm bringing you this Spoiler-Lite book review. And yes, if you want to go behind the scenes and get some bonus episodes, early episode access, and occasional polls that are used to guide our content, you know how you can support the show. Head over to our Patreon page. Our awesome patrons make a huge difference for this channel. Thanks to each of you for allowing my son Zach and I to keep doing these full tilt. If you've ever enjoyed one of these reviews, one of the video episodes, live streams, or just the fact that I get weird about fantasy books so you don't have to, that Patreon link is down in the show notes. All right, this book. The End of the World as We Know It. New Tales of Stephen King's The Stand. That's what I just finished reading. It came out August 19th of this year, 2025. It was available in hardcover and ebook. I think those are the only two ways you can get it right now. This collection was edited by Christopher Golden and Brian Keene, well-known authors in the horror scope. It includes 34 all-new short stories set in Stephen King's setting of The Stand. The hardcover is about 800 pages long. I did it as the audio version, and I always go at one speed, 1.0, as they meant it. And in that case, it's a little over 27 hours long. 27 amazing hours. You may already know this, but maybe not. If you're newer or first time here on Fantasy for the Ages, The Stand is by far my favorite Stephen King novel. I've reread it multiple times. Heck, it's one of my all-time top books across all genres. So when I heard about this anthology, authorized by Stephen King himself, set in the world of The Stand, it wasn't just, I'll get to that someday. It was, must read ASAP. And the motivation shot past must when my friend and longtime guest on the show, King constant reader, Eric Hahn, jumped into the anthology and he texted me, "Hey, Jim, guess what I'm reading?" I figured Eric's in, I'm in. So I began it after seeing Eric's excitement, and I could not stop consuming it. I finished it before he did. Take that, Eric. It pulled me in, and I kept flipping the virtual pages because, again, I listened to the audiobook. It was just such a fun ride. So what's going on here? Spoiler light, I'll share with you, and I'm not going to go very deep because, again, it's all these different stories, but the anthology brings together a hefty roster of voices. Some you'll recognize, some that are authors you may need to discover more about, all placing new stories in the world of The Stand. The editor's note makes it clear these stories take place during and after the events of The Stand, and some perhaps long after. The anthology is broken down into sections, categories. The book doesn't necessarily label that as really hard and fast, but you get the feel as you work it through. You're going to find stories that explore the immediate aftermath of the pandemic, Captain Trips, and its global reach. Yes, global. Something that actually always intrigues Stephen King. His setting is all in the United States, but now we've got the tales of what was going on beyond the US scope. Then we've got stories that pick up on characters, places, and references from The Stand. Not always the major players who are front and center, but the periphery, the ripple effects. And finally, we've got tales that jump far into the future, imagining the world the way it will look after the central conflicts of the stand are resolved. Bottom line, it's a mosaic of micro epics, each one a different lens on the world after the collapse. The survivors, the rise of new orders, the ghosts of the old. You don't need to have fresh memory of every detail of the stand to enjoy this. But if you are a fan, like I am, heck, maybe you've read it multiple times, man, it just adds whole extra layers of, oh, yes, I remember that moment, thrills. For me, this was a blast to read. I dove in, didn't want to pause, kept thinking, just one more story late into the evening. Eric and I are definitely going to get together soon and give you an episode where we dig a little deeper into some of our favorite stories from this collection, talk about aspects we particularly enjoyed, and also probably navigate a little bit about the ones that didn't quite land for us. Because, yes, not every story is a home run. But here's my takeaway: the batting average of the authors who came together for this is ridiculously high. Every story is at least a double. None of them struck out, and plenty were home runs. Some stories dared to ask big questions in the world of the stand, expanded corners that I never thought we'd get to see, and they did it well. Because this is an anthology and not a unified novel, the tone shifts from story to story. Some of them lean horror, some lean more reflective, some give me more world building that was great to see. But this variety really keeps the reading fresh, so you can move through this lengthy book without much difficulty at all. My only caveat: if you expect the same scope and character roster as the stand itself, Stu, Fran, Larry, Mother Abigail, Flag himself, you're going to find less of that. Many stories are more tangent than center. That said, to me, that's a strength, not a weakness. We get all this other stuff now. I'm thoroughly glad I got to experience it. If you love The Stand, this will feel like an extension, an addendum, a what if and what next, all rolled into one. Here's 5 specific reasons I think you might enjoy this anthology. First of all, if you loved The Stand, this isn't just nice to have for such a person. It's a must. You really gotta read this. Second, if you appreciate the greater King-verse, his influences, how his worlds interconnect, there's gems to find in here. There are tie-ins. Thirdly, if you just love dystopian and apocalyptic literature, global collapse, the survival, the rebuilding, gems await you. Fourth, if the idea of a wide variety of top authors, each tackling this universe of The Stand, sounds like a hoot, well, it is. So you're going to want to get in here. And finally, maybe you thought The Stand's unabridged version still wasn't long enough. Well, here's over 800 more pages or 27 plus hours of audio to soak up. I'll admit, I never felt the unabridged version was too long. I know there are people who seriously think, man, King he went all off and needed some trimming. Nope. Loved it all, and now I have more. So that's my review of The End of the World as We Know It, New Tales of Stephen King's The Stand. If you're a constant reader, a hardcore fan of The Stand, or just love high-stakes apocalypse stories with deep mythic roots, I highly recommend you hop in. Grab the hardcover or the audiobook if you commute and like long listens. Set aside some serious time because you're going to want it. Thanks for tuning in for this episode review. If you enjoyed it, drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet, and hit that notification bell so you'll be not missing any of the additional episodes that come out like this. And I'd love your comments, especially if you have already read this now. Let's touch base on what some of your favorite elements of the story were. All right, that's where I'll leave you. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.